Opening the central diagonal instantly ignites dynamic possibilities, aiming to pressure black's territory. Centering the pawn creates immediate symmetry, contesting the board's heart and setting the stage for active piece play. Developing a knight so early can be a bit premature, potentially blocking the c-pawn's advance and allowing black central control. Striking at the center with knight development. This challenges white's immediate pawn advance and prepares to contest central space. Developing the bishop to its most active diagonal. The bishop eyes the weak f7 square and prepares for castling, setting up early attacking possibilities. Developing a knight to a central square. This piece aims to contest white's ambitious bishop and reinforces the pawn structure. Solidifying the center's pawn chain now. White prepares for gradual development and avoids early tactical skirmishes. Developing the bishop to pin the knight creates immediate pressure, forcing white to consider their pawn structure and knight's role. Unpinning the knight and creating a potential battery on the king's diagonal offers a strategic squeeze. A bold knight maneuver. Nd4 brazenly targets white's central control and ignites potential tactical fireworks. Challenging the knight's ambitious placement disrupts black's harmony, forcing a decision about its future. Exchanging the bishop there simplifies the position but sacrifices some attacking potential for black. Reclaiming the pawn with the king opens up white's queenside pawn structure but grants them a strong central pawn duo. Re-engaging the center with the knight aims to challenge white's central pawn structure and potentially activate the knight for further action. Unleashing a pawn storm on the kingside. White seeks to disrupt black's harmonious setup and open attacking lines against the uncastled monarch. Confronting the bishop's gaze. Black creates an escape route for their knight, albeit at the cost of a slightly weakened kingside pawn structure. Developing this bishop activates a piece, eyeing potential queenside advances while reinforcing central control. Solidifying the center and preparing for a potential queenside pawn push creates valuable pawn structure and space. Unleashing the queen towards the kingside. This aims to exploit the weakened pawn structure and pressure potential weaknesses. Developing the bishop to d7 subtly fortifies the kingside's defenses while preparing to challenge the central pawn structure. Aggressively expanding on the kingside. White aims to unbalance the position and potentially trap black's undeveloped pieces. Centralizing the queen immediately shores up the knight's position and prepares for potential advances. Unleashing a kingside storm. White bravely pushes pawns forward, seeking to rupture black's defensive shell and expose the monarch. A retreat of sorts. Sacrificing central dynamism for potential defensive reinforcement, though the knight's journey is lengthy. Establishing queenside pressure. The rook swings to the b-file, eyeing potential pawn breakthroughs and disrupting black's cramped development. Black repositions the bishop, seeking a safer outpost away from white's aggressive pawn push and potential piece exchanges. Initiating a knight sortie towards the kingside, aiming to bolster the pawn storm and potentially create an outpost. A crucial king safety adjustment. Preparing for potential action on the kingside by anchoring the monarch. Pushing the queen forward now ignites a dangerous chase on the kingside, potentially leaving your own monarch exposed. Prioritizing king safety over active piece play. The rook mobilizes to a slightly passive square. Unleashing the kingside pawn storm now. White ignites the game's dynamism and aims to shatter black's defensive shell before the monarch is safe. Ignoring development. Black ignites a desperate pawn storm on the queenside, sacrificing central influence for temporary activity. Shattering the central pawn structure finally opens lines for white's pieces. Sacrificing the bishop for pawn structure seems like a desperate attempt to disrupt white's advancing kingside assault. Unleashing a tactical storm. White opens the f-file, directly exposing black's exposed monarch to immediate peril. Seeking shelter from the storm, the black king abandons the d7 outpost for a marginally safer, yet still exposed, position. Unleashing the queen into this newly opened diagonal creates immediate threats against black's exposed king, shielding the monarch from immediate threats. This move aims to fortify the central pawn structure and prepare for potential queenside counterplay, subtly shifting the game's focus. Snatching that pawn aggressively opens the a-file, creating immediate pressure on black's queenside and potentially disrupting their development. Further, black's queenside push disrupts white's attacking intentions, aiming to gain space and contest the open c-file. Unlocking the d-file suddenly explodes into the center, threatening a swift queenside breakthrough and forcing black's king further into exposure. Unleashing the queen to the center, black boldly challenges white's exposed king and opens lines for counterplay on the queenside. Opening a central highway, white aggressively pushes the d-pawn, aiming to dismantle black's kingside and claim key central squares. Shifting the knight to a more active square now, eyeing the open kingside and potential central breakthroughs. Seizing the b-file creates immediate pressure, forcing black's queen to defend and revealing king insecurity. Snapping up the rook provides material parity but sacrifices crucial central control, opening lines for a fierce counterattack against your exposed king. Unlocking the d-file with bishop activity creates immediate threats on the queenside. The bishop's capture on d5 opens crucial diagonals and activates dormant pieces, creating complex tactical possibilities. Asserting control over the queenside diagonal offers potential pressure against the isolated c-pawn, though it opens the long diagonal for the opponent's bishop. Black forces a queen trade, hoping to simplify into an endgame where the passed pawn might be less effective. Sacrificing material for open lines and a swift assault on the weakened monarch. The bishop, finally finding a safe square, aims to disrupt the rook's dominance over the open file. Suddenly, white reclaims control of the initiative by sacrificing material for a devastating attack against black's exposed monarch. The knight retreats to safety, but the open c-file presents a lingering threat for the queenside. Unleashing a pawn on the h-file, white aims to open lines for attack, a bold gambit against black's awkwardly placed pieces. Capturing the pawn opens the g-file, a stark vulnerability for your king with white's queen poised to dominate. Aggressively opening the f-file offers a tactical gambit, but leaves the kingside vulnerable to counterplay. Reclaiming material while opening lines for the queen to enter the fray offers a sharp counter to white's aggression, a forceful check that rips open the defense, exploiting the exposed king and aiming to liquidate into a winning advantage. King's safety is paramount now. The monarch must evade the relentless pressure. Unleashing the e-pawn transforms the position, threatening a decisive queen sacrifice and dominance on the 7th rank. Sacrificing the knight here only accelerates the inevitable, opening lines for the rook to dominate the critical 7th rank. Simplifies to a winning endgame by forcing piece liquidation. A desperate gambit to revive attacking chances, but it exposes the rook to immediate danger on an open file. A decisive check, forcing the black king out of its precarious shelter, threatening a swift promotion. Seeking a safe haven from the storm of checks, the king retreats to a seemingly more sheltered corner, hoping to endure the coming onslaught. Unleashing the bishop opens a critical diagonal, aiming directly at Black's exposed king, promising swift retribution for past pawn sacrifices. Reinforcing the f-file offers a passive defense against White's rampant queen and bishop pair, a choice that will likely prove too slow. The king, exposed on the dark squares, now faces an unavoidable check with decisive consequences. The king dances into a potentially exposed square, hoping to escape the immediate storm. Securing the bishop's safety allows White to prepare for a king hunt, a desperate attempt to enliven a lost position by chasing the queen, but it offers no real hope. Sacrificing the bishop clears a path, unleashing a potent discovered attack on Black's exposed king. The monarch's sanctuary is breached, exposing the king to the storm gathering on the adjacent rank, unleashing the queen to exploit the open b-file pressure.